Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves on this primary day, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, who you should vote for, who you should avoid, and the return of Kshama Watch. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
So, this morning I wake up and I see some news that was just absolutely incredible. It comes from the Department of Justice. Today, the Justice Department published a list of states, cities, counties identified as having policies, laws, or regulations that impede enforcement of federal immigration laws. According to Attorney General Pam Bondi, sanctuary policies impede law enforcement, put American citizens at risk by design. The Department of Justice will continue bringing litigation against sanctuary jurisdictions and work closely with the Department of Homeland Security to eradicate these harmful policies across the country. So I see this, and I think to myself, are we going to be left out again? Are they going to forget about us again? That is a real concern at this point because there's so much going on across the U.S., but I'm going through the states, and I go, California, not us. Colorado, not us. Connecticut, not us. Oh, it's alphabetical. Delaware, D.C., Illinois, Minnesota, Nevada, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and yes, my friends, even Washington. That's right. The Trump administration is going to be going after Bobby Ferguson. But they have to find Bobby Ferguson first. After all, if the Washington State Standard is having a segment called Where's Bob, then they're going to have a hard time finding him and Nick Brown. By the way, you know what I thought would be really funny for the Washington State Standard? For those of you who missed the show yesterday, we talked about how the media is calling out Bob Ferguson for not being available to the media, for nobody knowing where he is, but we're paying him hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I think a Where's Waldo series could be great for Bob Ferguson. Doesn't he look like Waldo? He's got the glasses already, skinny little white dude. So I got an idea. Put the hat on him. Put the clothing on him. Give him those stripes. I know some of you want different stripes for Bob's. The jumpsuits are orange these days, guys. No, you give him the Where's Waldo outfit, and you should have him in downtown Seattle. But the landscape should be current downtown Seattle. My God, I'm describing this for AI right now as we speak, where there's shootings everywhere, and we had, 4 or 5 over the weekend? All the homeless, all the crowd. Is he hiding in a tent? Oh, where's Bob? Where's Bob? I think that would be fun. All right, counties. Baltimore County, Cook County, San Diego County, San Francisco County. Wait, that's it? I think you guys are missing a few. Los Angeles County, King County, perhaps. Okay, well, hang on. Now we've got a list of cities. Albuquerque, Berkeley, Boston, Chicago, Denver, East Lansing, Michigan. That's a random one. Hoboken, New Jersey. I just like saying Hoboken. I don't know why. It's just a funny word. Jersey City, Los Angeles, New Orleans, New York, Newark, Patterson, Philadelphia, Portland, Rochester, and yes, my friends, Seattle, Washington. By the way, this one's kind of funny. I think they have some alphabetizing issues because Seattle is above San Francisco on their list. That's kind of funny to me. But yes, the Trump administration is going to be targeting the sanctuary cities. 100% they should. Now, mind you, what's going to happen is they're going to turn around if they actually lose federal funding, and they're going to come after it from you and me. If you want to be part of the union, you agree to enforce federal rules, and then you get federal funding. It's that simple. What is the only upside of the sanctuary city, sanctuary state? The only potential upside is you want more illegal aliens for whatever reason. Whether it's voting, whether it's labor, whatever the case may be, you are saying you want the illegal aliens here. And they have tried so hard to change the word you use. Illegal migrants, undocumented migrants, untraveled, traveling, whatever. They've come up with every name you can think of. At the end of the day, it is illegal. You are violating federal law. There's a time where you have states' rights. There's a time where you have federal rights. This is a national security issue. That's what it is. It's a crime issue. We have massive amounts of crime around here. Why do you want to continue making it worse? Do you have a lot of fields that you want your slaves to pick crops in here in Washington? Is that what it is? Because you guys keep saying all the time, oh, well, we need this workforce. What are we going to do without this workforce? No Americans will do the jobs that they do. Number one, as we saw from the last jobs report, that just ain't true. We're losing a whole bunch of illegal aliens, but we are picking up a whole bunch of Americans who are taking those jobs. Second of all, lots of people came here illegally for the American dream. Why do you have to come here illegally? There are plenty of ways for you to come here illegally and get a worker's permit. But here's something else. The Democrats are so contradictory. So we want high wages for our union workers. We want high wages for the working class. But we're going to undercut all that with our slave labor that we import from other countries. Isn't that exactly what you're doing? Tell me how that makes sense. On April 20th, 2025, President Trump signed Executive Order 14287, protecting American communities from criminal aliens. The executive order recognized that some state and local officials continue to use their authority to violate, obstruct, and defy the enforcement of federal immigration laws. And it is imperative that the federal government restore enforcement of United States law. The executive order directed the Justice Department, in collaboration with the Department of Homeland Security, to publish a list of such jurisdictions. Accordingly, these are the cities, states, and counties. Now, I'm going to reach out to these guys and say, is King County going to make the list? Because King County literally voted, what was it, last week or the week before, to reaffirm themselves as a sanctuary county, as a sanctuary jurisdiction, basically as a screw you to Donald Trump. What's the upside? What's the benefit? So there's a few upsides. I know the first one you guys are going to be screaming and yelling about is voting, but before we do that, let's get a little bit more analytical before we do that. First, if you are going to pass all these policies that are going to jack up the minimum wage and force your donors to pay those fees, which is taking money out of their pocket, as a Democrat politician, you are going to get complaints. You are. So you know what you get to say? We're going to look the other way, bring in as many illegals as you want for whatever industry it is, and we're going to look the other way on it. It is that simple. It's how you virtue signal without actually doing it. So that's what that is. I don't know why any union around here still backs the Democrats when they claim they're for higher union wages, and yet you have this cheap labor force that is undercutting those wages every single day. Now let's get to the voting thing. We know our friend Jim Walsh over at the Washington State GOP and the Washington State Legislature has an initiative out there to guarantee that we have voter ID so that we can ensure who's actually participating in our elections. The only reasons you would want this many illegal aliens in Washington State, in Seattle, or any other of these sanctuary jurisdictions is either you want them for your workforce or you want them voting. Or you say, we're going to get them on all the different kind of subsidies we have, all the different welfare programs, so we can get them voting. Those are the only ways you would ever do such a thing. That is the only way those are the only explanations I could possibly think of. If you could think of another one, you give me a call at 206-421-5757 or text me at 206-421-5757. Let's not forget, the same Democrats who have been saying this whole time, the illegal aliens, they're not on welfare. They're the ones suing so that the welfare lists by state from SNAP and other programs don't get sent to ICE. Well, if there's no illegals on them, why are you worried about the names going over there? So, while all this is unfolding, according to KREM 2, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested at least 275 people in Washington State in June, more than double the monthly totals earlier in the year, which ranged between 84 and 137 arrests from January through May. The data, obtained by the Deportation Data Project at UC Berkeley School of Law and compiled by King 5 News, is based on internal ICE arrest logs and includes arrests recorded through June 26. The information is not comprehensive, and not all arrest records have the Seattle area of responsibility, include the state where the arrest occurred. Now, we have this happen all the time because we get those ICE alerts, and sometimes you have ICE Seattle working with the Portland police or other jurisdictions to get these guys because they were on somebody's list and they found out that's where they are. I'll tell you something, though. The sanctuary cities and sanctuary states and sanctuary counties have actually made that number go higher. And let me tell you why. What happens is when they go to get an illegal and this guy is in his house, then they say, wait a minute, all these other people are here illegally too. We're all going together. They say, do you want to be deported with your family member? And just like Tom Homan said, we can deport families together. So by the sanctuary policies of saying, we're not going to turn them over at the jail, you are helping ICE do their job, because then when they have to go get them in the neighborhood, then when they have to go get them at home, they check everybody's status. And they find out who's there legally and illegally. So actually, I guess kudos to all the sanctuary cities, all the sanctuary counties, all the sanctuary states, because you guys seem to be helping ICE make more arrests. You guys seem to be doing a bang-up job at that. But in all seriousness, you're putting a lot of people at risk. A lot of people at risk. How many different crimes have we seen? We have Trooper Christopher Gadd, killed by an illegal alien who never should have been in this country. How many stories have we done like that, where time and time again? And then there's the unseen victims, the fentanyl trade, the drug trade. We have some of the highest overdose rates in the U.S. And unlike everybody else's that are going down, ours are now going down because of the ICE enforcement. But even when they were going down across the rest of the U.S., ours were still going up. So you have all these problems, and the Democrats seem content with all of them. They're going to take credit for fentanyl, and our fentanyl overdoses going down this year. They're going to take credit for it. Watch. Mark my words, they're going to. And you're going to say, didn't a lot of that come through the border? So what you're really doing is you're crediting ICE, you're crediting Donald Trump with doing that? So here's my question, guys. We know that Ann Davidson, we know that Bruce Harrell, we know that Seattle is suing over the sanctuary status, the money being taken away because of the sanctuary status. We know that's going to happen. Do you think they're eventually going to cave, or you think they're going to keep this fight going to the end? Nick Brown has filed not more lawsuits than Bob Ferguson did, because Bob Ferguson filed, 50 total against the Trump administration in 4 years in office? But what has Nick Brown already done, and it's only been 7 months? 12? 15? I've lost track of how many that Washington is a part of. I think this is just who they are. Nick Brown figures, well, if Bob Ferguson rode this all the way to the governor's mansion, and who knows where he's going after that, I can do the exact same thing and follow the same playbook. So do you think the left is going to sue over everything? I think they will, and I think they're ultimately going to lose. I think that's what's going to happen. But let me know what you think. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. John in Lakewood says he thinks they want more illegals for census purposes and maybe for a more compliant population. Yeah, I don't think it's the compliant thing. I think it's for the census 100%. I think it's 100% they need to do that. This one here, Rob in Lakewood, says illegal count for congressional districts. Yeah, exactly right. I think that's what it is. Mess with the census. By the way, a thing that the Trump administration did not do a good job of the last time around, they were actually in charge of the census. And we all can admit that the census was really poorly done last time. That was under Trump's watch. And it should have given Florida more votes. It should have given California, New York less votes, but didn't show that. They didn't do such a good job. Next time around, we hope they're going to get the counts right. Because forget all this redistricting stuff that's going on in Texas right now. Imagine how many votes can be picked up if you stop counting the illegals in the census. That's what it should be. Jeff in Kent says, Ari, why aren't the families such as Gadd's suing the state over the sanctuary status? You know, Jeff, you're not wrong, but I don't think you can. I have to double check this. So every city, state, county has something called the public duty doctrine, which basically says you can't sue us for dumb decisions we make legally. Now, you may say, oh, it's illegal. It's in violation of federal law. I have to talk to a lawyer about that. Jeff, very, very good question. I will definitely check with a lawyer and get back to everybody on that. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Jason and Lacey. Jason, what's going on, man?
Hey, no, I was going to just throw it in there because you were talking about the different reasons why the Dems want the illegals here, and then all the people were texting in saying the same thing. I was going to say it's for the census and to increase the representatives at the House. So I don't know if there's a way that they can do the census without counting illegals. I mean, because they basically just ask you, hey, how many people you have in your household. So
Yeah.
they don't have to really say that they're legal or illegal, and they probably won't say that they're illegal. So I don't know how they would get around that problem. But yeah, I don't think the census should count illegals.
Now, I'll tell you something here, Jason, is that I know everybody's been looking at this map that shows how many illegals are in each state. And I know that Washington, on this meme that's going around the internet, has the highest amount. I have not actually seen any data to actually support that aside from that meme itself. I think there are far more in California. I think there are far more in New York. I think there are far more in Chicago. I think there are far more in states like that. What I'm more concerned here in Washington, I'm more concerned about how many Californians we've imported because you're talking about
100%.
Right, 1 million Californians, literally 1 million Californians since I think just 2019, since COVID. I have to double check if it was a little bit before then or around then, but 1 million Californians. Our population went up from 7 to 8 million in the last census. So I'm more concerned about the Californians.
They don't vote the way. I hope they don't vote the way they were voting in California, because they destroyed California, and it'd be a shame if they came to our state and destroyed our state.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm concerned about here, Jason. Let's think about this for a second. Let's take you for a second. You listen to the Ari Hoffman show. If you're going to leave Washington, what state are you going to go to?
I don't know. I'd consider Kentucky and some of the other places, maybe Montana.
All right, but a red state, right? You'd consider something like that,
Absolutely.
or a purple state, but probably a red state, right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
So if somebody's fleeing a blue state, they're either going to, you would think they would be going to Florida, to Texas, to something like that, right? But they're coming here. So what does that tell you about how they likely vote?
Yeah, except for a lot of the things. Now, the only thing that I think that is our saving grace is that we have really high cost of living, because, I mean, it's close to California, and that was the main reason why a lot of people fled California was the cost of living. But we also have a high cost of living, too. So I think that's a good argument that you got, and I think that's a very strong likelihood instead of the cost of living argument. Yeah,
I think that's a fair point also. Jason, great conversation. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 from the 425. I would go to Montana, and when I hear the Montana thing, what do I think of Mike? Mike looks at me through the glass right away. I would have liked to have seen Montana. See, people who are fleeing communism for capitalism, for America, they want, I will get a large recreational vehicle and a large American wife, and we will breed rabbits. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Leonard in Shoreline. Leonard, what's up, man?
Nothing much here. You know, I think the other thing, and the main reason why Governor Ferguson wants these illegal immigrants in here, and the reason why he wants to import more of them into the state, so that they can commit Social Security fraud.
Well, I think that they want them on Social Security, and I think it's more the voter fraud. I think the way they bribe them is with the welfare, but the Democrats say nobody's on those programs, right? Leonard, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, the return of Kshama Sawant, everybody's least favorite communist and Marxist, is back in the news. We'll tell you why. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, my friends, it has not been long enough, but everybody's least favorite communist Marxist, Kshama Sawant, is back in the news, which means it's the return of Kshama Watch, where we see what she is up to. Now, let me give you the background on this before we get to the clips that Mike found, because they're gold. Yesterday, Congressman Adam Smith had a town hall meeting out in Renton. And Kshama Sawant shows up with her merry band of idiots to disrupt it. Now, this is where the stories diverge. So far, I've only seen video of her idiots, her Hamasniks, her crazy white people protesters getting arrested and led away. According to her, they were peacefully protesting, and we have different definitions of peaceful protest. According to Adam Smith, one of his staff members got assaulted by one of them. Now, I did reach out to Adam Smith's office for clarification last night. I haven't heard back from them yet. I said, can you send me the police report? Can you send me something? Because then, was it they threw a water bottle at you, or was it they punched you in the face and hit you on the ground till you there's no sound? You know, was it that kind of thing? We don't know what happened.
At a time like this, a quote-unquote assault has become an unfortunate sliding scale of definition to be, oh, I got splashed with water, too. I got my noggin caved in.
Exactly. So is it a Cam Higbee, right? Is it that end of things where you're horribly injured? Or is it somebody threw some water at you or something like that? Okay. Now, here's the number one thing. Kshama Sawant is trying to be relevant by making noise. Nobody is talking about her. And yet Adam Smith is in the media all the time because he's chair of the House Armed Services Committee. And even though he's a Democrat, Mike, we just had him on, Friday? And he comes on anytime we ask him to. He's doing the media rounds, and he's everywhere doing town halls. Whether you like the guy or whether you hate the guy, he shows up. He does show up. He doesn't hide from this kind of stuff. So Kshama Sawant is trying to be relevant because nobody's talking about her campaign at all. This is a woman who regrets saying, I'm done with the Seattle City Council, I'm going on to bigger things, because her socialist alternative wasn't picked up nationally, and everybody kind of looked at it and went crazy. Now, here's how you know how bad it is for her. Who's the leader of the Democrat Party right now? Zoran Mamdani, right? The socialist, or at least he's the poster child. He's the one everybody's talking about. You know who they're not talking about? Kshama Sawant, because she's too crazy even for them. She's shrill. She's annoying. She's obnoxious. At least with Zoran Mamdani, can't stand the guy. Horrible ideas. Says awful things, but says them slickly. Says them almost politely when he's not rapping about, killing Jews and stuff. When all that's going on, he comes off as slick, which is why some people are falling for his act. She doesn't, and we know what we're getting with her. Now, what happens is she decides to stage a press conference on somebody's cell phone outside the jail in Des Moines, where her people were taken after whatever happened. Now, for those of you who don't know the Seattle area layout, Des Moines is right before SeaTac. So you're literally right in the landing pattern of all the airplanes. And Mike found this amazing clip. Hang on, we'll get to you in a second. I know you want to chime in. We'll get to this, but you're listening to her keep getting interrupted and interrupted. Now, little trivia for everybody. The Jets, the football team, do you know why they're called the Jets? Because Shea Stadium, where they originally played, was right in between LaGuardia and JFK Airport. So the planes would fly over all the time. And when the Mets were playing, they would frequently have to stop play because of the airplanes. Now, when they built the new stadium, they go, all right, can we move this thing over? And which direction do we have to go so we don't have to do this anymore? Mike's clips will remind you of that, because she has to keep resetting because of the airplanes.
Well, it's funny because, again, regional, local geography, the jail is more in the flight path than my house, and I live in the city of SeaTac. Or you've been to my place.
Yes.
You know how close to the airport I am. I'm east of the airport, so I'm not in the flight path. You can't hear planes at my house. It's so weird. But here in Des Moines, oh, man, this is great.
All right, let's start off with everybody's favorite communist Marxist trying to do her press conference.
3 of our fellow peaceful activists have been arrested merely for chanting against the war.
Here we go, Wayne.
Against the genocide in Gaza, because they are angry that 500,000 Palestinians have been slaughtered.
just stops, and she's just like looking around.
Oh no, the plane's overhead! Ah! It's like that scene out of Wayne's World. That's what it
Sorry, I
is.
keep pausing because this jail is very close to the airport. There'll be planes flying every so often.
Oh, Mike, you found gold with these. Absolute gold. All right, here she is trying to call out Adam Smith. Let's see if it happens again.
And they were arrested outside the town hall of Democratic Congress member Adam Smith, who has voted repeatedly to fund the genocide. Adam Smith also voted to ban U.S. funding for United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which is the main organization that was delivering food and other aid to Gaza. And we know what the result has been
and terrorists.
because of this blockade on
Yes.
humanitarian assistance.
Yes.
We are seeing people, especially babies
here we
and
go.
children, starve to death.
Yes.
Adam
Yes,
Smith
we are.
has
Sure we
the
are.
blood of 500,000 Palestinians on his
Is she going
hands.
to talk about any
And
Seattle
on top
issues?
of that,
Or we're just going to
Adam
talk about
Smith
Israel all the time?
Called for left-wing anti-war activists, called them left-wing fascists.
Uh-oh, here we go
He
again.
also demanded that they
Here
should
we
be
go
arrested.
again.
And so today, the cops carried out his demand.
Oh, this is great. This is just too good. Hang on. Wait a second. What else we got here? Oh, they start chanting at some point to overcome the airplanes. This is how you know I haven't listened to this yet, but Mike has. Hang on. Listen to this.
Adam Smith, you can't hide.
You are funding genocide.
Adam Smith, you can't hide.
You are funding genocide.
Adam Smith, you can't hide.
You are funding genocide.
Adam Smith, you can't hide.
You are funding
Oh, here goes the
genocide.
plane again. Oh no. Yeah, you guys suck at the chanting. Really? Are we reading off the cell phones? Are we getting notifications from the other protesters like we did in the last clip? Well,
Dumb chant too.
yeah, really dumb chant. By the way, here's the other thing. Kshama Sawant doesn't get to sit at the cool kids table because all the Democrats are embracing Mamdani. They're not embracing her. So she's mad about this. So she gets mad at the other Democrats.
We have to be clear that we cannot rely on the Democratic Party.
That's right.
The Democrats, just like the Republicans, are a party of capitalism and imperialism, and they will show their true colors every time. Every time we protest, they will show that the police and all the institutions
Capitalism
are
on its
the
way.
side
That
of
capitalism's
capitalism
flying
and the
overhead.
billionaire
Here it
class.
comes right now.
The only way we can
Capitalism.
fight that is for working people
America.
to get organized. And that is why we need hundreds of people to show up.
Oh my God. It's like Boeing knew she was bashing capitalism and they just flew every plane they possibly could over this place.
If it was any other day, I would swear it was the Blue Angels. It's just like we're going low for a low demo.
Oh, this is great that they keep buzzing the tower. Oh, she wasn't done yet, my friends.
Their only crime is standing up against the genocide and standing in solidarity with the Palestinian people. If that is a crime, then I am a criminal too.
What? I mean, we know you kind of are, but
Don't
for
make
other
me
reasons.
start the chant. Lock her up. Lock her up. She says she's a criminal.
Lock her up. That's right. Let's do that.
She's a menace. A criminal.
Oh, man.
Where's J. Jonah Jameson? Where you need?
Where's Spider-Man? Give me a picture of Spider-Man. But my friends, she did the typical socialist thing where it's free recess, free pizza, free stuff for everybody. That's how we're going to bribe you. We're going to have a bad press conference with airplanes flying overhead, and we're going to bribe you with lots of free stuff like the kid who's running for class president and says free recess for everybody, free pizza for everybody.
Our campaign is demanding that the genocide be ended immediately, the genocide and starvation be ended. Also,
Has
we
she
are
mentioned
demanding an
anything
end
about Seattle at
all
any point?
U.S. military funding to Israel.
Okay, the
and
Jews,
an end
the Jews.
to
You don't like the
brutal
Jews.
Israeli occupation
Don't
of
like the
Palestinian
Jews.
lands.
Okay, how about Seattle?
We are also
Homeless.
calling for free health care for all,
here we go.
funded by taxing the rich.
Then it's not
Because-
free.
Because the rule of the billionaires means that they make profit hand over fist by the slaughter of ordinary human beings, including babies and children.
Wait, I hear that.
Tens of millions
I hear
of
those
American
profits
people
flying
in the
overhead.
richest country in
That
the world
airplane was
go
built with
without
the
their
slaughtered
basic
children. Wow,
needs
that's the worst
met.
blood libel ever.
We are also
Shame.
calling for national
Shame.
rent control and for a stop to all
Did you say national
deportations,
birth control? Oh,
shut
immigrant
down
control.
all the
Rent
detention
control.
Rent
centers,
control.
and
Rent
demanding
control.
that ICE is out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think your platform is in opposition with even the crazy socialists in most of this country. Oh, Kshama Sawant, how I did not miss you at all. Lots more to talk about as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, why was Trump up on the roof of the White House? I didn't see a fiddle in his hands. What was he doing up there? We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. One of the listeners of our show, Matt Gilbert, who we absolutely love, had a great line this weekend. So I was up on my roof watching the Blue Angels with my daughter, and I posted a picture my wife had taken of the two of us. And he goes, "Have fun up there, Tevye." I might be the only Jew in the world who doesn't like Fiddler on the Roof. But when I see Donald Trump up on the roof of the White House, I go, what's he doing up there? Why is he walking around up there? And now me, I've been to a lot of construction sites. There's actually these two buildings I used to do property management for that are close to each other, but they're not attached to each other. One building had roof access. The other building did not have roof access. So I took my life in my hands many times as I jumped across Jason Bourne style, those two roofs. Okay, it's not as big as I'm kind of making it sound, but terrifying every single time you do it. I don't have an issue with heights. I'm just saying, it's like, who really wants to do that? I'm like, well, this is how I went inspecting a roof for a property that I'm at. This is how I go. So President Trump is up on the roof, and I assume it's a lot easier to get up to the White House roof because you have guards up there all the time. You have snipers up there all the time. I assume by now they've built some kind of staircase up there. Not like in the John Adams days where a roof, you need a ladder, and that's where you go up. I assume there's an organized way to get up there. When I was at the White House earlier this year, and I was at the building right across the street, which one is it? OMB. So I'm across the street of that. You could see the roof of the White House. I couldn't see where the stairs were coming from, but even so. So what's President Trump doing up there? He's inspecting the building. He's getting ready to build this big, beautiful ballroom, which, by the way, I can't believe the White House didn't have one already. Apparently they used tents and stuff, or they went to other locations. That doesn't sound good for security. Anytime you have to move the president, that's a lot of resources. Oh, wait a second. This is good for the environment, Mike. You don't have the whole motorcade going everywhere. This is good. I don't think the carbon offsets of the construction, the trucks really pan out. But still, the media said, Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Anything I do is financed by me, so you're not the one it's contributed. Just like my salary is contributed, but nobody ever mentions that.
So if you couldn't hear what he was saying, he says this entire project is being financed by me, just like my salary is being donated. You know what, Mike? I haven't seen those reports. Do you remember last time when he was president? Every month it would say his salary this month went to this cause. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I haven't seen those reports. They used to make a bigger deal out of it. Now, I think if they're not making a big deal out of it, they should be making a big deal out of it because it's just more news, more content. Content, bro, content. Just feed it all right out there. But here's something else. He was being asked about the tariffs. And he's been very consistent on his tariff messaging. I've been concerned, where's all the money from the tariffs going? Here's what the president said today.
You know, one of the questions asked of me this morning is, are you going to make a dividend to the people? And the purpose of what I'm doing is primarily to pay down debt, which will happen in very large quantity. But I think there's also a possibility that we're taking in so much money that we may very well make a dividend to the people of America.
I'm going to say something very unpopular right now. Of course, we all want free money from the government. We do. Absolutely we do. We don't have the free money to give out right now. We don't. And here's something else. The more debt you pay down, the more valuable the dollar becomes because inflation goes down. So it's like the old question, would you rather take the one lump sum payment or payment over time? I'd actually prefer we don't get the checks and they pay down the debt. Get our credit rating back because in the long run, your dollar will be worth more. I know everybody wants a check from the government. I know everybody likes their refund checks. But I think it's better off to pay down the debt. What do you think? Pay down the debt or get a check in the mail? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Frank on the 405. Frank, turn down your radio, man. What's going on?
Get a check in the mail. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757.
Frank, are you there? I'm hearing myself, Frank. All right, Frank, you give us a call back if you get a hold of that radio there. You give us a call back because I love hearing myself talk, but I think you just heard what I just said on the show. So, Frank, you can give us a call back. This one here from Jeff again in Kent. He says, did they have a cover for a swimming pool in the White House that they used for a ballroom? Yeah, but didn't they also cover up the pool with the press room? I'm pretty sure they put the press room on top of the pool. I think they did. I don't remember if the White House still has a pool or not. They don't show you that on the tour. That's not something. Oh, here's where JFK was. Oh, no, that's not on the tour. None of that's on the tour. By the way, Melania is calling for volunteers to do the White House Christmas. Mike, I really want to get invited to the White House Hanukkah party this year just to see all the Christmas decorations. But also, I hear the food is really, really good and really, really kosher. But if you want to volunteer to help decorate the White House for Christmas, You can do that through the White House's website. You can actually go to whitehouse.gov and you can apply to be part of Melania's crew to decorate the White House. Man, it feels like America's back, doesn't it? Just feels so awesome. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, my friends, has racism gotten better or worse in the U.S. since BLM? You know what you think you're going to say. I'm going to tell you what the numbers actually say. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. We've discussed this a few times before, but I truly believe that even though you can't eradicate racism, there's always going to be racists. The closest this country ever got to having the least amount of racism was the end of the 1990s, early 2000s. Look at who the TV dads were. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You look at Family Matters. You look at who the top music artists were. They were all black rappers. Everybody was looking at a person as a person. Do I like the show? Do I dislike the show? Do I like the music? Do I dislike the music? I truly believe that is the most racism-free America has ever been. And I will posit that that was all undone by the Democrats in response to Hurricane Katrina. When Hurricane Katrina came barreling through, destroying all these, they made it sound like as if the U.S. government had deliberately targeted the black population. You remember the comments that Ray Nagin made? Oh, we're going to rebuild New Orleans, a chocolate New Orleans. You remember all that? And then Barack Obama comes along and just dialed that up to 11, always making every single case of somebody shooting somebody or somebody attacking somebody race when it had nothing whatsoever to do with race, like George Zimmerman and everything else. Then that got dialed up even more with the Ferguson stuff, then BLM. And we saw this in the polls, that for years, race relations have been really, really terrible. Well, there's a new poll out, and it's from the AP NORC poll. That is not from my little black book of the right-wing media polling companies. A poll's found that Americans perceive there to be less discrimination against racial groups than 4 years ago. That's what they think. And they think that diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts made little difference in reducing discrimination. It found a significant drop in U.S. adults who perceive there to be racial discrimination against black Americans, with 45% saying there is a great deal of discrimination or quite a bit against the group, but this is down from 61% when this poll was conducted in April of 2021. Among black Americans, 74% said their community experiences a great deal of discrimination, while 45% of Hispanic people and 39% of white people agreed. Among Hispanic Americans, 61% of both black people and Hispanic people said there's quite a bit or great deal of discrimination against them. But what's fascinating about this is all these numbers are going down. Is it because race is not the primary focus of every single conversation we're having all the time? This is really fascinating. When asked about whether DEI increases or reduces discrimination against certain demographic groups, because you would assume if AP is doing this, oh, it must be DEI. We've had DEI on steroids the past 4 years. 31% of Americans said that DEI increases discrimination against white people, but 53% said it makes no difference whatsoever. A total of 61% said DEI either increases discrimination or makes no difference for black people, while 63% said the same for Hispanic people, 67% said the same for Asian people. A total of 83% said DEI makes no difference or increases discrimination against men, and 66% said the same for women. Yeah, my friends, the numbers are in. Discrimination is going down because we're not talking about this nonsense anymore. We're just not, and we're looking at a person as a person. But on top of that, it wasn't DEI that did it. I could make the argument from this poll that DEI was actually making it worse. Over on the text line, it looks like almost everybody agrees with me that we should be paying down debt rather than taking those checks. Gary says, pay down. I hate paying interest. Exactly. By the way, interest, huge national security problem. This one from the 253, pay down the debt and get the burden off of us. Chris in Arlington says, agreed with what you're saying about paying down the debt. My opinion is that most people prefer a lump sum payment due to their economic status or living paycheck to paycheck. You're right, by the way. Most people would probably go for that. John in Lakewood, I'm with you. Pay down the debt to save our children and grandchildren of that burden. Ken in Everson says, the heck with the check. Pay down the debt. And by the way, this is everybody on the text line. I don't see anybody that would take the check. Everybody who listens to the Ari Hoffman Show. Very, very smart audience. Very, very smart audience that we have here. Very fortunate for that. We try again with Frank on the 405 over on the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Frank, how you doing, man?
Everybody, this is the Ari Hoffman Show. Very, very smart. Very, very
Frank,
smart.
are you there? Oh, losing Frank again and hearing myself again. All right, Frank, we tried. I mean, you're welcome to try again, but I love hearing myself on the radio, but I don't think that's going to help out. Meanwhile, here, switching gears over to something else, the National Park Service is actually announcing Monday that will restore and reinstall a statue of Albert Pike, which was toppled and set on fire by protesters during the George Floyd riots in 2020. Now, this is part of a federal effort to preserve historic landmarks and comply with recent executive orders aimed at restoring monuments and beautifying the nation's capital. Now, let's make this local for a second. The Lenin statue. It's history. Do you think it should be torn down? Do you think it should be put in a museum along with Dr. Jones? Do you think that these things belong to be reinstated? Or do you think we should put them in a museum? I don't think they should just get warehoused like the Ark of the Covenant. But the question is, that's a fine conversation to have. Should we be having these things up? Should they be put in a museum or on display somewhere else so you can learn about our history? You can't bury our history. That's a fine conversation. But just let's take it down and light it on fire and blow the thing up, that doesn't make any sense. We have museums about the Holocaust, guys. We preserve the concentration camps. Statues aren't going to bring out those kind of emotions. What do you think? Statues? Museum? Should we put them in museums? Should we remove them? Should we restore them to their former glory places? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, your chance to take the trip or keep the cash in our latest giveaway. Plus, public safety is a top issue in the election. This time around, we'll tell you all about it when we come back. You are listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on America's first conservative talk radio station, 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, local grocery stores are pushing back on the Seattle City Council's insane tax plan that's going to cost you more money. But before we get to any of that, and speaking of money, you work hard, you play hard, you probably need a getaway or some financial relief. Well, we've got you covered with KVI's Take the Trip or Keep the Cash. This week, you can get away to Japan, have sushi in Shibuya, temples in Kyoto, and maybe some cherry blossoms, or have a chance at $3,000 cash. Now, all you have to do is text the keyword I give you to the number I give you. Just text the keyword. Do not text your name. Do not text your address. Do not text your phone number. Do not text anything else. Do not say, hey, Ari, love the show. Here's the keyword. No, just the keyword itself. And you text it to the number I give it to. Not my social media. Don't call us with it. Text the word. And we'll get you in the daily drawing to get a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. And you could win the trip or keep the cash with KVI. Today's word, my friends, because it has so much to do with Japan, is fog. That's right. I think more London when I think fog, but that's I'm just thinking of the book, the Little Red Lighthouse, and the Great Gray Bridge, right? Warning, danger, rocks. Oh no, I'm thinking that. Text the keyword fog, F-O-G. To 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. You have from now until 5 p.m. to enter the keyword fog for your chance to win that trip to Japan. Gets me every time. Your next chance of winning comes tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Phil and Zach. Remember to check out our friends at Daniel's Broiler to reserve a table, place your takeout or delivery order, and more. You can see that at danielsbroiler.com. Okay. Switching gears entirely here for a minute, literally switching gears as you're driving. I got a text from some relatives of mine this morning, and let's just say it had more expletives in it. I'm going to say on air. But I've talked a lot about the I-90 interchange off of Rainier Avenue. It's where we have rock throwing season. And I've literally driven up that entrance to I-90 many, many times as a shopping cart or something else has come rolling down that on-ramp because of the homeless people living up there. I've avoided the zombies, you name it. It's crazy over there. Now, it's gotten a little bit better. So, Seattle Department of Transportation had a brilliant idea. A brilliant idea. But before I tell you about the brilliant idea, let me tell you what they've done to my commute so far. Anytime I want to get from Seward Park, where I live, over to I-90, you can go one of two ways. You can take the lake, or you can take Rainier Avenue. The first thing they do is they put the bus lanes on Rainier Avenue, turning something that had 2 lanes in each direction into 1 lane in each direction on a major thoroughfare, and you never see buses. In fact, people are just blowing the bus lane thing all the time because they're tired of it, but it created so much more traffic. So what people do, they started going down to Lake Washington Boulevard. And Lake Washington Boulevard, you know you're going to deal with the cyclists and whatever. So hang on, let me make sure I got this right. You didn't build the bike lanes on Lake Washington Boulevard where all the cyclists are, and now you're shunting all the traffic over there, putting the cyclists at risk. So what they do, they said, we got to slow these people down. They're going on Lake Washington Boulevard at full speed. There's all these cyclists there. There's no bike lanes. We have nowhere to put the bike lanes. Oh, we have an idea. Let's put in speed bumps everywhere. That'll slow everybody down. Wait a minute. It hasn't slowed anybody down because most people have SUVs around here. So they just go right over those suckers. And in trucks, they just go right over those suckers. So they're just going just as fast as before. I can't do it in my Charger. I can do it in the Jeeps that my friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram have given me. I could do it in those. I could do it in my wife's SUV. I could do it in my old truck before I sold it. But the Charger, that sucker flies like it's an action movie, and I'm going to take off the front. Now, I can't do that. But something else is these Teslas and other cars that are in auto drive. You know what it does with speed bumps? It hits the brakes to a complete stop and then slowly goes over them. Them and people who wear masks while driving alone in their cars. Those are the two things that do that, and now you've got more traffic down there. Why do I mention all this? Let's go back to the speed bump that they put on the entrance ramp to a freeway on Rainier Avenue. So now you're going to have everybody hitting the brakes, and that's going to reverberate all the way down Rainier Avenue, creating more traffic. You guys decided, let's not deal with the homeless. Let's put a speed bump in there, right? Oh, that'll fix it. That'll do it. So it'll stop the shopping carts from coming down at you. Speed bumps on the freeway. Wait a minute. This sounds like an episode of The Office. I seem to remember some clip from The Office about this.
I feel very blessed. Ladies and gentlemen, I have some bad news. Meredith was hit by a car. It happened this morning in the parking lot. I took her to the hospital, and the doctors tried to save her life. They did the best that they could, and she is going to be okay.
What is wrong with you? Why did you have to phrase it like that?
Thank God you were there.
Yeah.
Did you see who did it?
I was able to be on the scene so quickly because I was in the car that hit her.
Who was driving?
Oh, Michael.
One day Michael came in complaining about a speed bump on the highway. I wonder who he ran over then.
That clip still gets me every single time. But yeah, now you've put the speed bump there. You've got the homeless people living over there. You're dodging the shopping carts or whatever debris over there. Somebody's going to die because of the Seattle Department of Transportation or Washington Department of Transportation, whichever idiot put this thing there. Somebody's going to die because of this. And by the way, it's probably not the first time. Because how many other things have they done which put people's lives at risk? And the stuff they've done, you've only seen traffic deaths go up. You've only seen pedestrian deaths go up. Cyclist deaths go up since they enacted Vision Zero. Well, don't worry, my friends. Soon enough, you may not have these issues anymore because now, according to the City of Seattle's website, they're getting robocars. That's right. Driverless cars are coming to Washington. You may have seen them driving around being tested. You know what they look like? You remember the movie Time Cop? So in the movie Time Cop, those self-driving cars that everybody's in, home, take me home, right? Those, the way Jean-Claude Van Damme says that, those cars they're driving around, they look like the more futuristic, boxy versions of the things we're seeing now. There's more gizmos and doodads on these. I don't know why they can't implant them in the skin of the car so they don't look that way, but that's probably next generation. So great. You know what this is going to be like in Los Angeles? When the rioters were ordering the Waymo vehicles, they could light them on fire. It's only a matter of time. I mean, you guys are absolutely crazy for bringing these things to Seattle, given all the unrest that we have here on a regular basis. Speaking of driving, by the way, you now have the Washington State Patrol aircraft, which helped arrest 2 reckless drivers overnight. According to Cairo, the plane known as Smokey first helped officers track down a radically driven pickup spotted on I-5 near Tukwila. Somebody called 911 after seeing a possible DUI suspect driving the truck in a dangerous manner. Troopers tried to stop it, but the driver took off southbound. To keep everybody safe, the pursuit of that reckless driver was turned over to Smokey. The State Patrol aircraft and ground units terminated their chase. I thought it was going to be a bear. I would love a bear flying a plane. We haven't had enough bear stories. Oh, that reminds me. Mike, after the Bowie story yesterday, where Bowie almost died because that brown bear was looking at him and charging at him, and luckily, for reasons known only to God and the bear, it stopped. A bear got loose inside a summer camp in New York where all the kids are around the bunks and reacting to the bear. I have to show you this video later. I have to put it on social media later. It is one of the craziest videos I've ever seen. I will definitely share that with you later. But meanwhile, Smokey, the State Patrol aircraft, was able to follow this guy. So speeders beware. You now have airplanes tracking you on I-5. Now, mind you, it's good that law enforcement has the airplane, but because of the lack of law enforcement here in Seattle, we saw this over on the Police Scanner Twitter account yesterday from D Scanner Chatter, who we love following. So it's PD Scanner Chatter. This one from 15th Avenue West, a group of citizens has caught up to and is apprehending, and they use air quotes, or they use actual quotes. I'm using the air quotes. Apprehending a person who has been breaking into businesses in the area. So my thought about this is the vigilante justice will continue until the crime stats improve. But that's no joke, by the way, because they're only getting worse. And even the King County Prosecutor's Office is recognizing it. So the King County Prosecutor's Attorney's Office is halting all felony referrals to a juvenile diversion program. We know these diversion programs don't work. Following preliminary findings from an independent recidivism study, that raised questions about the effectiveness of the Restoration Community Pathways Program. RCP, a juvenile diversion initiative approved by the King County Council and managed by the Department of Community and Human Services, aims to offer an alternative path for youth accused of nonviolent offenses. Rather than entering the traditional juvenile justice system, eligible participants are referred to community-based nonprofits focused on accountability, healing, and restoration. However, the program's social media is filled with messaging that is in favor of abolishing prisons and the police. Gee, I wonder why you're not doing a good job rehabbing these kids. Because if you spend the whole time going, oh, sucks that you got caught, but don't worry, we're going to get rid of the police together. We're going to get rid of the prisons together. You're going to help us abolish the police? Yay! Oh, my God, we could do that with the Simpsons clip. Say the line. We should defund the police. Yay! That's really what this is. RCP, a juvenile diversion initiative approved by King County Council and managed by the Department of Community and Health Services. Human Services aims to offer alternative path for youth accused of nonviolent offenses. Rather than entering the traditional juvenile justice system, eligible participants are referred to community-based nonprofits focused on accountability, healing, and restoration. But, guys, you're not actually doing that. Instead, you're just saying, we're going to get rid of the police soon. We're going to get rid of the police soon. Would you like the stats? They found that out of the 902 youth referred to the program, at 6 months, 18.5% had a new criminal justice contact. At 12 months, 27.9% had reoffended. At 24 months, 40.3% had a new system contact. Oh, that means you were back in the system or you had a contact with police officers? More notably, recidivism rates varied significantly between misdemeanors and felonies. So misdemeanor referrals had a 24-month recidivism rate of 37.3%. Felony referrals had a much higher rate of 53.2%. For those of you that would claim, those of you on the left that would claim, oh, it's about shoplifting. You know, kids will be kids. It's like the stuff we did when we were kids. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about actual felonies, real felonies, big boy time. The data also showed little difference in reoffending rates between youth who accepted diversion, those who declined consent, and those whose cases returned to prosecutors due to issues like non-responsiveness. The prosecutor's office called the findings significant enough to warrant a pause on felony referrals to the organization. Quote, we believe in diversion. We want it to work. But we must also ensure that programs we support are delivering meaningful outcomes and improving public safety. Pausing felony referrals allows us time to gather more data and ensure we are making evidence-based decisions. I got to say, good on the King County prosecutors, by the way, because they say we want this to work, but this program isn't working. Look how bad it is. A secondary analysis is already underway to compare the outcomes with those of traditional prosecution. So this is the left saying, wait, we want to save this diversion program. Let's see how bad the numbers are when people actually get prosecuted. You know what's not being factored in here? Them versus other programs. So, for example, I don't know if the Salvation Army or our friends over at the Union Gospel Mission do any of these Scared Straight programs because they do more with the homeless and such. But there are youth programs out there that do these Scared Straight programs or do these work with offenders who are juveniles. I would like to see it compared to them. I would like to see it compared to church groups and religious groups and see the work that they do versus this program. Because what's going to happen is they're going to come back with their numbers next and go, oh, look, it's so much better than jail, which I will not believe their numbers. But they'll come back and probably say something like that. If they're even worse than this, I'll be shocked. I really will be shocked because at this point, the left is triggered and the left is going to start messing with the numbers. So, while the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office is reassessing for felony referrals, it emphasized continued support for juvenile diversion as a core principle. But that's them saying, we believe in this stuff. We believe in this stuff. You know what this reminds me of? Remember a couple of years ago on the show, we did the Alberta study on injection sites, on the heroin injection sites. Alberta did the study because they were trying to say, how can we make these things better? How can we make these things work? And their study was a bombshell because it revealed all the problems we know with harm reduction and needle exchanges and injection sites. Basically, that people were dying at the injection sites, that people were not getting treatment, that people, if they weren't dying at the injection sites, they were getting hit up with Narcan and they went and died in their tents, or they were taken to the hospital and they died there, that the overdose rates went up, that crime went up, that neighborhoods were being destroyed. And Alberta very sensibly said, we like these things. We want to keep these things. How do we make them better? But they said these things aren't working. Now, we haven't checked in on Alberta in a very, very long time. I'm wondering if they shut down these programs or what modifications they made to try and get them to work, because I've never seen any real study that wasn't backed by the organizations themselves that showed that any of these programs actually worked. Meanwhile, it's not only people on the streets that are having problems with crime, it's people on the trains as well. So, according to Center Square, Sound Transit has announced a realignment through something called an enterprise initiative. Without giving much in terms of specifics, during the July 24th Sound Transit Board meeting, Director of Access, Integration, and Station Area Planning at Sound Transit, Alex Krieg, told board members the outcome of the initiative will lead to a new system plan for the agency. The effort is necessary due to cost increases for several projects already in the works. Though Krieg's presentation gave no cost data to show how big the budget gap might actually be. Whoa, 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 whoa. You mean that Sound Transit is spending a whole bunch of money with no accountability whatsoever, and they may be over budget and behind schedule again? Oh, shock me, shock me, shock me. Hey, by the way, how's ridership going? Well, actually, according to a new study, ridership is actually up on Sound Transit, still not at pre-pandemic levels. But meanwhile, we've got the story about the man who was shot in the head at the Northgate station just last week. So now Seattle police said the shooting victims had just exited the Northgate Link station and was standing near bus bays on the street level when two men approached him from behind, and one of them fired a gun at his head. The man was critically injured and died the following day at Harborview Medical Center. Sound Transit announced it would increase security staff at the Northgate station as well as a system-wide following the incident. But how do you expect to pay for that? You're already over budget on everything. Now the safety issue as well. You should address the safety issue, but you don't have the money for that. Hey, remember we did that story a couple weeks ago where people aren't paying their car tabs? 600,000 people are not renewing their registration because of how much money it costs now. You guys have finally hit the Laffer curve where too much money, too many taxes, and people are just in their own form of peaceful protest are saying, we're not paying this anymore. Imagine if you had all those people actually paying how much more money you had. Because at the end of the day, the problem is with these cost overruns and everything else they're talking about at Sound Transit, you and I are going to be the ones stuck paying for it like we are every single time. And every time I go over those speed bumps and every time I see those bike lanes, I always think to myself, oh, great, my tax dollars were spent making my commute longer, making things more difficult, stealing my time. That's one of the most frustrating things. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including the White House released funds that are going to schools, but I'm not sure these schools actually did anything to deserve them. We'll give you the full story when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Don't worry, parents. Less than a month till those kids are going back to school after Labor Day. Oh, wait a minute. That means you got a whole month of those little whippersnappers being home with you. I'm just kidding. Children are a blessing. We love them all very, very much. What's going to be waiting for them for you when they go back to school? Well, according to Como News, a group of nonprofits is suing the Trump administration over what they say are unlawful attacks on Head Start, a federally funded program that provides family support services to low-income children. The U.S. District Court in Seattle held a hearing Tuesday on motions for a preliminary injunction and temporary restraining order after the ACLU, parents groups, and Head Start associations filed a lawsuit. Now, Washington Senator Patty Murray accused the Trump administration earlier this year of delaying funds appropriated by Congress for the program. She says the administration slow-walked the funding, leading to nearly $1 billion less in federal money compared to 2024 and forcing closures of preschool classrooms for low-income children across the U.S. I'm going to bring this back around again. Let's say if Patty Murray is correct. I doubt it, but let's say she's correct for a second. If this money was allocated by Congress, you need Congress, which you control right now, to do these cuts and make them permanent. What were they doing? Violating DEI? Violating civil rights laws? Discriminating against people? Having illegal aliens participating in these? Could have been anything. But if these programs need to be cut because they're violating this, then Congress needs to do it. You know, I'm so tired of these influencer Congress people. It doesn't seem like they're actually doing anything. We had the one big beautiful bill, and since then, what? Really? Before then, what? If you guys want to make these cuts and make them permanent, you don't know what's going to happen in the midterm elections. You need to do this now. Why aren't you doing it now? Oh, wait. They're in recess for the month. They're not even there right now. And once again, these guys don't mention why these funds are being cut. And you know who's really guilty of this? Yesterday, I got an email from the Seattle Times. I get email. I'm still on their email list. You can unsubscribe from the paper, but the emails will follow you forever. So here was the headline of the article they're pushing. UW, other Washington colleges face big money problems. Cuts from the Trump administration, the state legislature, are forcing the University of Washington and other schools to lay off staff members and raise tuition. So I opened up this article and I clicked through it and I put it into archive.ph so I can get past the firewall. Archive.ph. You can get past the firewall because that's the internet database. And what I realized was at no point does it say why those funds are being put in jeopardy. Neither with the Trump administration nor with the budget issues in Olympia. At no point does it say the Trump administration targeted University of Washington for allowing rampant anti-Semitism and discrimination on its campus. And at no point does it discuss the out-of-control spending in Olympia, which led to the largest tax increase in state history being passed by the Democrats. By the way, I understand the article is about the challenges they're facing, but one line on either one, that's it. You can even put your own spin on the line, where the White House alleges there was discrimination on campus, or due to budget problems in the Washington state legislature that led to the tax increase. You could put it any way you want, but you left all of that out of the article. So right now, all anybody thinks who actually still reads the Seattle Times is that for no reason whatsoever, the Trump administration is threatening the funds of UW, and for no reason whatsoever, the Washington state legislature is threatening the funds of UW. So who looks like the victim here? Oh, poor University of Washington that allowed an anti-Semitic violent homeless encampment on its campus that was supporting a terrorist organization. Oh, poor UW. You know, things are tight. The economy's so terrible, and there just wasn't enough money for the legislature to work with. No, they spent it on dumb things from their overspending. This is terrible reporting. You left out the why. I used to have a teacher in high school. He was a history teacher, and he would always say, he was a civics and history teacher. He would always say the who, the what. He was always emphasizing that. The who, the what, the when, the why, and the how of every single issue. We study all those things in history. Why did this happen? How did this happen? Who did this thing? But the Seattle Times left out some really, really big things. The why. There's no why in this entire article. It looks like it's framed just to make you think, Oh, that evil Trump administration is going after the poor University of Washington. Do you have any idea how big their endowment fund is? You know what? I don't. Tonight, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a deep dive into the University of Washington's finances and see how big their endowment fund is. I know they get something like $1 billion in federal funding for the medical schools and medical research and everything else, but I wonder how big their endowment fund is. Do some checking. Actually, I think a listener sent me some data on this. Listener, I got your email/text. Haven't had a chance to respond to it yet, so I will check that out, and you'll get full credit for helping me do this deep dive on it. Meanwhile, according to Reuters, President Donald Trump's administration will release more than $5 billion, which was previously approved funding for K-12 school programs that it froze 3 weeks ago under a review. The White House Office of Management and Budget has completed its review, has directed the department to release all formula funds. Now, here's my thing here. You guys are mad that they're reviewing where the government funds are going after all the waste, fraud, and abuse that's been uncovered. So here's something. A lot of nonprofits that I work with applied for Homeland Security grants, and all of it was placed under review. Was it annoying? Yes. But I'm thinking to myself, because I work with a lot of Jewish nonprofits, hey, you know what? If they're checking out the other guys, I'm happy they're checking out us too. We can wait a month before our project. We can wait 2 months before our project, and the money was eventually released. If you know that money's coming, you plan accordingly. The nonprofits I work with had to plan accordingly. So with these schools and stuff, if it's under review, you should welcome that review and say you have nothing to hide. Is it annoying? Sure. But then you could say, look, we're the gold standard. We passed DOJ. We passed the Trump administration. We passed the Department of Education. We passed everybody, and we are beyond rebuke. We have no problems whatsoever here. Why are you not welcoming this? That's what you should be doing. Is it annoying? Absolutely. Do you have to wait for funds? Absolutely. But at the same time, going forward, it should be a lot easier for you to get that money because now you've been officially approved. I will say something. I saw this article from Time Magazine, and I thought to myself how awesome this would be here in Washington. Oklahoma Republicans are rolling out an America First test for teachers who are fleeing from blue states. So they have this test to make sure that you align with their values because they don't want the DEI nonsense following you from the Seattle school district or anywhere else. Now, mind you, you would think to yourself, what is this like? Does it say who's the greatest president? If you don't write Donald Trump, you're in trouble? No, it's not that. It's basic civics. It's basic American history. They want to make sure you're not putting in that 1619 Project garbage, which was debunked by historians. I do love the America First teacher exam. This cracks me up. Would you be in favor of such a program? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, the Seattle City Council is considering a new tax that is going to make your grocery bills so much higher. In fact, some local grocers are going to be joining us to tell us how much worse it's going to be making it for you. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I don't normally read the Seattle Times. Longtime listeners of the Ari Hoffman Show know my disdain for the Seattle Times. However, when a friend of mine writes an op-ed for it, I take some interest. And I was shocked, absolutely shocked, that they printed this op-ed. The opinion piece is called "The Seattle City Council Should Not Raise Grocery Prices." And it's written by a few small business owners who are saying, we don't want to raise our prices. It's affecting our customers badly enough already. And you guys are about to make us make things worse for our customers. And this shoots a hole in the narrative of, oh, these business owners just want to take every nickel and dime that you have. No, these are literally businesses looking to save you money and saying, we don't want this to affect our customers. Enough is enough. Joining me now on the Warrior Injury Law studio line is Yosef Shulman, who's the co-owner of Leschi Market, and Tammy Hetrick, who's the president and CEO of the Washington Food Industry Association. Thank you so much both for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Such a pleasure. Now I'm going to start with Yosef, because Yosef and I go way back, and on weekends we drink scotch together and such, and we've known each other for years and years, and we serve on nonprofit boards together. Yosef, how'd this op-ed come to be? It's you, and I wouldn't say they're competitors because you're all local neighborhood grocers in different neighborhoods, but how'd you guys decide to write this thing?
Well, Tammy with the Washington Food Industry Association had sent us a message about sending a message to the council, the mayor, and so forth, to help deal with the fact that to voting on sending this to a ballot on this situation, they need to hear from us what's going on. And she came to us to help us coordinate all this to what's going on. Of course, we know what's going on with the excise tax and on the state level and the local level and so forth. She does an amazing job of keeping us up to date and helping us fight to help keep prices better and legislation for small businesses to keep things and so forth, to keep things in line for our customers.
So, Tammy, why don't you tell me exactly what the Seattle City Council is doing? Because this is one of those things that flew under the radar that most people have no idea. They heard about the largest tax increases in Washington state history out of the legislature. They know that. They don't necessarily know what all of them are. So they're shocked every time they find out there's a new tax. What's the Seattle City Council up to?
Yeah, well, and this is pretty interesting because it's made to lead you to believe it's for big business tax, and it's a B&O, business and occupation tax, on gross sales at the warehouse level and then at the retail level. Well, the same thing happened at the state, and we tried to fight the state. We tried to get an exemption for groceries. We got an exemption on the retail side, but they did not do the exemption for warehouses. And then here comes Seattle along, and they decide to run the exact same legislation, claiming they're going after big business. But as you know, grocery is a high volume, extremely low profit, 1% average profit business. And so, yeah, they have a lot of sales, but they're not making a lot of money. And so now they're being asked to pay this additional B&O between the state and now the city. There's no option but to increase prices. And the thing that's most frustrating is because at the warehouse level they have this tax, it impacts all independently owned grocers. So it's not going to impact the big publicly traded guys because they don't have warehouses that they buy from. They buy directly from manufacturers. So now we're at more of an anti-competitive disadvantage, and it's very frustrating.
Now, Yosef, I used to shop at your grocery store all the time because my office literally used to be across the street from the place. I would just walk over, have a cup of coffee, grab something from your store. What is this going to do to prices across the board? I mean, are we talking about noticeable increases? Are we talking about pennies? Or is it just going to be a tax on top of tax on top of tax on top of tax?
It's going to be noticeable increases. If you think about it, and it is going to be tax on top of tax on top of tax, because when a wholesaler or distributor has to raise his prices due to being taxed, that might go to another producer who then sells within the city, who then has to be taxed and raise its prices, go back to another distributor, do the same thing, come to me. I have to do the same thing over again and pass it on to a customer. This happened on the state level. It's happening on the city level. It's, it could go up 10 to 15% most likely after the first of the year. That doesn't include any other tax or increases within all governments, including a federal level. Let's say you have tariffs go up 15% on products. That's going to raise all the prices by 15%. Then you're putting another tax on top of all the increased costs. It could go up 20% or more. We really just don't know, but it's going to hit the bottom line to the stores. It's going to hit the bottom line to the customers who are already price shopping, and it's more difficult enough to buy groceries considering it's up already 15 to 20% over the last 5 years.
Yeah, and what's entertaining to me is the Seattle City Council who's saying, oh, we're trying to stop the big businesses and we're trying to look out for the little guy. Literally here, this is going to affect the little guy. In the last few minutes, we have with Yosef Shulman, who's the co-owner of the Leshai Market, and Tammy Hetrick, who's the president and CEO of the Washington Food Industry Association. Tammy, what can people do about this? Because if they want to save their local grocer, if they want to make sure their prices aren't going up, if they want to make sure this tax isn't going to be enacted, it seems like it's a done deal. You've got a supposed moderate in the mayor, and you've got a radical city council member in Alexis Mercedes Rink who are working together on this. So that means you kind of have both sides of the spectrum in politics. How can people put the pressure on to stop this, especially since it's an election cycle?
Yeah, and that's the thing. We tried to get a simple exemption for food, and they claimed they couldn't do it. So now it's on the ballot. Now the only thing that we can do to protect consumers and to have, fair pricing is to reject it on the ballot. There's nothing else left. They will not do an exemption. And so it's scheduled for November 4th to be on the ballot to vote for.
So here's what we're going to have to do. Leading up to November 4th, we're going to have you guys back because what we have to do is put emphasis on this right now. Everybody's paying attention to the primary today, and this is not on the ballot for the primary. So those of you who are freaking out in your car right now going, oh, my God, it wasn't on my ballot. What do I do? This is for the November ballot, guys. But it's something that we're raising awareness of now because Bruce Harrell was pushing this, and he's on the ballot today. And you've got a city council member who is pushing this. This is what you need to pay attention to because these are the policies they are going to enact. Yosef Shulman, co-owner of the Leshai Market, and Tammy Hetrick from the Washington Food Industry Association. Thanks so much for being with us today, guys. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. And Yosef, I'll see you in Shul this weekend. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. Yet another reason I always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Are we about to have a moon base? Seriously, are we about to have a moon base? Because that seems to be what the Secretary of Energy is talking about. Wait, what's going on? Hang on. I'm very confused by all this. All right. So according to the Post-Millennial, interim NASA Administrator Sean Duffy is slated to announce this week that the Trump administration has plans to put a nuclear reactor on the moon. Duffy also serves as the Secretary of Transportation. Sorry, I said energy, not transportation. NASA has previously considered putting a nuclear reactor on the surface of the moon. However, plans expected from Duffy will set a more concrete timeline for when the project will be launched, according to documents obtained by Politico. NASA has been facing budget cuts in other areas, but the White House has increased funding for manned space missions for 2026. So they say this is about a second space race. So what, it's a refueling station? You're putting a nuclear reactor there so they can fly to the moon and then refuel? Is that what we're talking about? A NASA official told the outlet that it is about winning a second space race. Where are we racing to? Is it to colonize the moon? Is it for Mars? Trump named Duffy as interim NASA administrator after he pulled the nomination for Jared Isaacman, who is a friend to Elon Musk. The move came as the president and Musk were in a public spat over the one big beautiful bill backed by Trump. Duffy has also moved to more quickly replace the International Space Station, another objective of the space agency. Both efforts will be vital to get the U.S. to the moon again, as well as to Mars, something that the Chinese are working on along with the AI race. Okay, can we stop for a second? Can we just stop right here? Did we use nuclear power to get to the moon the first time? I don't remember that.
How about no?
Ah, yes, Dr. Evil talking to us from his moon base right now. There is no, yes, there is, we didn't use any of that last time. So why do we need one this time? Now, you want to say it's a refueling station so you can get where you're going next. Okay, but what's your refueling on the way to Mars? Is it all the energy is used in the blast off? I got to brush up on my space stuff. This seems a bit clunky. Also, why can't you put the nuclear reactor in the ship? You could put it in the submarines. I mean, I know this is cool and grabs headlines. Everybody's like, yeah, there's a nuclear reactor on the moon. Woo! But I'm not understanding the logistics of it.
Now, what you do is you put the reactor in the moon.
Oh, no, Mike, I'm sorry. You're wrong, buddy. You shoot nuclear weapons at the moon. Because don't you know, in any disaster movie, oh, there's a massive earthquake. Drop a nuke into the fault line. That'll stop it cold,
Works
right?
every time, except for that one time it didn't. Like in that Deep Impact.
Or wait, I got it. We stopped the core. So what we have to do is detonate different nuclear reactions in the core over time, and that'll jumpstart the planet. Man, movies are stupid sometimes. Okay, the core, one of my least favorite disaster flicks. What are my other least? The Day After Tomorrow, that's the one I love to make fun of, where everything freezes. I hate that
Really
one.
snowy. Yeah.
Really snowy. 2012, you know, the Mayan calendar thing, the world's coming to an end?
I sure do.
That was so bad, it was kind of good. I don't want to say like Battleship, where it's so bad it's good. No, it kind of had some dumb moments in there that I enjoyed. But, I mean, there's some bad disaster flicks. Deep Impact, definitely up there, you know, especially when you have something like Armageddon come out and you go, oh, you could have done this movie well, and you guys made this piece of garbage instead. Yeah, a lot of movies like that. I mean, Volcano. Volcano's one that's so bad it's kind of good.
I kind of like
that one. Dante's Peak I like out of those two better.
Sure.
It's not because James Bond's in it and Linda Hamilton's in
right.
it. It's because Grandma gets acid
because
stomach.
Grandma gets melted. Though not for nothing, Volcano also has a top-tier melting in it.
That is true. You do get the random dude who's in
like
everything.
the train conductor
guy. Yeah. That dude's in a lot of stuff, by the way. Go watch it.
And Emmett Walsh,
Yeah.
Like,
I know that dude.
Melted in lava.
Get off the train, run!
I saw somebody put like the sad Terminator 2 music on that.
Oh,
Dude's
no.
like melting in the lava.
Oh,
it's
no.
like
Yeah, as he melts into the railroad tracks. The subway in Los Angeles that nobody knows is there. Yes, that one.
That isn't actually there.
There's a subway in Los Angeles.
Is,
yeah, it's
yeah,
there.
but Seattle also has a monorail.
That's true. Is
that
that
goes
our
through the
subway?
entire city. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Yes, there are some terrible disaster flicks out there. So we're just going to park a nuclear reactor on the moon? Okay, guys, I don't know if you're being real. Is this one of these things you say to get interest, like Alcatraz, or we're going to restart Alcatraz? One of my kids was asking me the other day, Dad, is this what the 80s was like? I go, well, I mean, there's some stuff that's kind of 80s adjacent, but no, it's not really. I mean, the America First, America's awesome, America could kick your, you know what? That is definitely, very 80s much. You got Donald Trump running around talking, so that's like the 80s.
Well, I mean, you got hot chicks on TV again.
There we go. Got that back. You got your Sydney Sweeney back again. Not back again, but you got that kind of stuff on TV. I saw Beyonce did her own version of the ad, but it was for a different jeans company or something like that. I saw something. I don't know. I don't know if that was a comparison with an old ad or something. I wasn't paying that much attention to it. But anyway, that stuff is out there. So, yeah, are we on that kind of track? Are we on that kind of trajectory? Yeah. But to pour a little cold water on all this, or a cold shower, you might say, for what's going on here, is that, don't forget, Reagan had 2 terms. And Reagan had them consecutively. And you can make a lot of difference. If a Democrat gets elected in 2028, all this stuff right out the window, my friends. Right out the window. That's a sobering thought. Speaking of who's getting elected, by the way, we got primary day here in Washington. When we come back, we will have our final hour free-for-all, but what we're going to be doing is answering your questions about the elections, if you still have them, about your ballot, plus tell you the races we are watching most closely. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts on the upcoming primary, which is today. Also, we'll answer any questions we can about your votes and who you should be picking. We're also streaming live at the KVI.com and KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Also, don't forget, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. So I've gotten a lot of people asking me questions about this election. And before I go down my picks for this election, which we've done a few times before, you can always find my picks over at KVI.com. And if you don't know who to vote for and you can't find my picks, email me, ARI@KVI.com. That's ARI@KVI.com. But go to the website. They're all right up there. I didn't get a chance to endorse in every race. I didn't get a chance to analyze every single race. But I'll tell you something. I'm going to try my very best to get them all done for the general. But there's one problem, and I'm very, very disheartened about it heading into this election season. A lot of people say, why does the morning show keep talking about Mamdani? Ari, why do you keep talking about Mamdani? Why is everybody talking about Mamdani? And I'll tell you why, because that's the direction the Democrat Party is going. With Mamdani, with this socialist craziness, how do I know that's the direction the party's going? Look what's happened here in Washington. Have the Democrats here gotten more moderate even after the last election? No. As Washington has moved more and more blue, with 1 million Californians moving here in the past few years, it's only gotten worse and worse. I never like to endorse a candidate because they're the least worst of two options. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. But unfortunately, that's what it is this time around. But there's so many races where I just went, nope. I have never had a ballot with so many write-ins that I have done for my dead grandfather or just wrote in none of the above because you have such terrible options. This is what a dysfunctional GOP and this is what a just holding your nose and voting for the lesser of two evils gets you. This is what we're looking at here. There are so many races where I just went, nope. People said, Ari, what about the Seattle mayor's race? I said, none of the above. Just none of the above. There was one guy, Joe Mallahan, that I had a little bit of faith in, and then I saw that he was praising Katie Wilson, the progressive, and I went, nope, absolutely not. Some people say, oh, Bruce Harrell. Oh, he can be he's more moderate than Katie Wilson. I'm looking at the two of them, and I go, he's trying to be as progressive as possible. Are you kidding me? He has a track record of failure. Why would you vote for this guy? Unfortunately, this time around, conservatives like us have very few options. Now, the King County GOP Voters Guide did something interesting this year, and I'm going to say it again. The King County GOP Voters Guide said, here's the lesser of two evils in races where they didn't have anybody to endorse, and good on them. I didn't do that. I just went for the races that I'm actually following. So, over on KVI.com, you can find my primary voters guide, but don't forget, you have to get these things in before 8 o'clock tonight. And I recommend that if you haven't done it yet, don't put it in the mail. Go to the drop box near your house. You can find that over on the King County Ethics and Elections Commission. You can find out where these drop boxes are. In fact, social media is telling you today. You have little prompts. It's election day. Did you vote? So it'll tell you where those drop boxes are, but you have to go to a drop box today. Do not mail it in. All right, let's go through what's on my ballot. So, King County Prop 1, Proposition number 1 for parks, recreation trails, and open space levy, a.k.a. a tax. It's being sold as a nice idea for parks and green spaces, but make no mistake, this is a tax increase, one that runs through 2031 and is tied to inflation or population growth, whichever is higher. Given King County's track record of handing over our parks to homeless encampments and ignoring the decay, that's a vote no. Why should we trust you with our money ever again? Absolutely not. So vote no on King County Proposition number 1. Now, for the King County executive race, I know a lot of you are saying it comes down to Claudia Balducci and Gurmay Zahalai, but I don't see a difference between either one of them. They're the same picture. Some of you may say Claudia Balducci is more moderate than Gurmay. She doesn't vote that way. Really doesn't. I know he openly identifies as a socialist, but what Democrat these days isn't a socialist? You know what? We should just call it the Socialist Party because there's so few actual Democrats left in it. It really just is the Socialist Party these days. So I went with Derek Chartrand. He's the only conservative in the race. He's fiscally responsible. He understands public safety. He offers alternatives to radical left consensus dominating King County. He's a responsible, level-headed candidate who deserves your consideration. And I happen to know Derek, and he happens to be a very, very nice guy. King County Council. Reagan Dunn, that's your man. No ifs, ands, or buts. Reagan Dunn is your guy. The only fiscally conservative, common sense candidate, the only Republican at all on the King County Council, Reagan Dunn, not even a question. That's who you support. And he doesn't just virtue signal. He tells you like it is, and he gets things done. I've had to work with Reagan Dunn on a few things. He gets things done. And he's able to work with a radical socialist King County Council on basic issues, which normally they're not willing to do with anybody. So I'll say is that he is your guy. Reagan Dunn is the guy. Okay. Bellevue City Council / Deputy Mayor Jared Neuenhuis. I rarely find politicians that are still genuine people. Now, Reagan Dunn's one of them, right? But the other one is Jared Neuenhuis. Jared Neuenhuis is a legitimately nice guy, a good person who just wants to do good. He is such a good guy that I consider him a close personal friend. He really just wants what's best for Bellevue. He wants to stop Bellevue from becoming Seattle. He's a good guy. He's got a wonderful family. And he is all about how to make Bellevue great, how to keep Bellevue great, and how to make sure it doesn't turn into Seattle. He is the guy who is stopping Bellevue from becoming Seattle. And plus, this guy is a guy who actually fights for minorities. This is a guy who actually fights and speaks out against anti-Semitism all the time. And he has no reason to do so, other than the fact that he knows it's the right thing to do. He is one of the best choices you can make. And this is why he has my complete endorsement. Seattle mayor's race, there's no option here. There's no option here. In fact, somebody said to me, Ari, Katie Wilson has made some anti-Israel comments. Guess what? I don't care. You know what? Because it has nothing to do whatsoever with the city of Seattle. And I tell you what, Bruce Harrell turned over the streets to the Hamasniks and didn't say anything about University of Washington. You're not going to poke me to vote for Bruce Harrell because Katie Wilson said something anti-Semitic or something anti-Israel. And by the way, nobody's actually sent me that clip. I haven't actually seen it anyway. You've got a choice between a guy who let Hamasniks take over the city, take over the bridges, take over I-5, take over University of Washington, did nothing about any of that. You've let a guy who hasn't done anything about the homeless encampments, who crows about, oh, look how many police officers we've recruited, and isn't telling you how many of them have been retiring at that rate. We are still in a staffing crisis. And they have no respect for Bruce Harrell. So can we be real about this? He is a failed mayor, an absolutely failed mayor. And then you've got Katie Wilson, who's a far-left progressive. Nobody else in this race even has a chance. You're just screwed either way. Ann Davidson, Seattle City Attorney. You look at the people who are challenging Ann, and they're beyond crazy. Do I have my issues with Ann? Have I laid out my issues with Ann? Several times, as a matter of fact. But at the same time, she at least has been prosecuting crime around here. She has been doing that. So that's why I'm picking Ann Davidson. And you know all these people on the left are going to be voting for the far-left progressive. So the Seattle City Council, and I looked at District 2 because I live in District 2. There's not a single good option. Not a single good option. I am holding some of their campaign nonsense in my hand right here. Garbage. Absolute garbage. So what do we got here? Oh, vote for this person because they're endorsed by the stranger. Oh, sign me up for the, oh, you're endorsed by the, no, absolutely not, no. Garbage. Getting rid of all that. No, absolutely not. There is nobody good running in, who's this guy? Oh, the other one running in District 2. All right, he's comparing himself to everybody else. Does he believe in social housing? Yes. Okay, no. Who does he support, Tammy Morales or Tanya Wu? Both people aren't here anymore. You think any of us care? But you're picking Tammy Morales? The socialist, communist, Kshama Sawant wannabe? No, absolutely not. We're going to add you to the pile of garbage here. There is nobody worth voting for in District 2. Sorry, guys. There just isn't. Okay. Seattle City Council, at-large position. So the at-large position we have here, the only one you could pick is Rachel Savage. We like Rachel Savage. We think she's great. We like her personally. I wish she was doing a little bit better with the democracy vouchers and the fundraising and everything else. But I'm concerned because she's going up against socialist Alexis Mercedes Rink, who wants to hit everybody with those taxes. You heard a couple segments ago where we had the grocers on. That tax that they are talking about that is going to raise your grocery prices and possibly put out of business small mom-and-pop grocers, that was Bruce Harrell and Alexis Mercedes Rink. That was their brainchild. Now, for this one, I actually, out of morbid curiosity, I called up the Seattle Times editorial board endorsements for position number 8 in the Seattle race. And you know what I was shocked by? Absolutely shocked. Mike, they didn't endorse anybody in this race. They chose no endorsement, rather than endorse the socialist or the Republican. That's what they did. Now, you know what ticks me off about this? These are the same fools that wrote an endorsement for Bob Ferguson, saying how terrible he was and how awful he was. But they endorsed in that race. So you go, Bob Ferguson's terrible. He's overly ambitious. He's awful. He's spending too much time with Trump. But we're going to endorse him anyway. In this race, you were so determined not to endorse a Republican, and you can't endorse the socialist, that you guys didn't endorse anybody. Not anybody. Normally, I'd say good on you. In this case, no, not really. It's because you didn't want to endorse the Republican, because we know you've done this nonsense before. Okay. Seattle City Council position number 9. That's another at-large position, which means the entire city gets to do it. Look, Sarah Nelson's not ideal. She's not. I've got plenty of problems with Sarah Nelson. She folds too easily, only seems interested in talking to conservative media when she needs votes. Notice who hasn't been on the show this cycle, right, Mike? Yeah, was around a lot the last time. She's mildly pro-business, not completely off the deep end. That alone makes her the least problematic candidate here. Additionally, sometimes she is responsive to community concerns. Her challenger, Dion Foster, is okay. Here's what it says. Progress requires new leadership. So she's pushing the progressive nonsense. That's what she's pushing. Nope, absolutely not. We're shredding another one of these things. I've just had it with this absolute nonsense. We know you're a progressive. We know what you're into. Nope, getting rid of that one. Okay. So Sarah Nelson's your choice for that one. All right, the democracy vouchers. We're going to do this one more time. Do you know why the democracy vouchers are on the ballot for a primary? Because they don't want you paying attention in a general election, and they know it would lose in a general election. Axios, Seattle, which I don't think I even knew we had an Axios Seattle, but apparently there's a writer for Axios here in Seattle talking about the democracy voucher program. The only reason I saw this article is because my Google alerts mentioned me, that I mentioned in this article. And I'm like, all right, what do they have to say? So what they say, supporters of Seattle's first in the nation democracy voucher program. Oh, by the way, only in the nation democracy voucher program because it's so problematic. Say it allows more people to participate in politics, while opponents argue that too few people use the system to justify its cost. Okay, you tell me if 4.9% of Seattle using these things, down from a height of 7.3%, shows a program is working. Democracy vouchers are those things you probably didn't even realize you got, that you threw in the shredder or threw in the recycling bin because you said, what is this stupidity? You get taxed so that you can give money to political candidates. That's what this stupidity is, which is really, really dumb, by the way. I'd rather have my tax money back. I would rather not have another tax. Also, let's not forget, people can game the system and fundraise hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing the same thing they do with ballot harvesting with the democracy vouchers. Oh, by the way, if you approve this thing, the tax is going to increase in the least affordable city. So whatever these fools like Teresa Mosqueda, who's representing this thing, who's on the King County Council, says, oh, we need to make Washington more affordable, I'm going to say, you literally taxed us to pay for political candidates. Give me a break. This is absolute garbage. Hey, at least they quoted my little video that I did for the Seattle channel, which is nice. Now, by the way, they spend most of the time talking about how great these things are and how they work. Here's what they wrote about the anti-side. Less than 5% of Seattleites used their vouchers in 2023, which opponent Ari Hoffman, a local talk radio host, says reflect a lack of interest in the program. Quote, Seattle is one of the most expensive cities in America, and yet our city government is forcing you to pay a special tax just to fund political campaigns, Hoffman said in a video voter guide. Yes, but, they say, donor participation was even lower before Seattle voters approved a voucher system decades ago. Wait. What? Hang on a second. That's your rebuttal? You're saying that now the people, maybe 4% of Seattle, can give their little bit of cash, it's worth it? With the tax money? That's your response? That's really that is garbage. I hadn't read that till just now, by the way. That is absolute garbage. That's the best you can give me? Oh, well, 2% of people participated. Give me a break. The democracy voucher program needs to end. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm really furious at the Republican Party right now. This was a key issue that you guys could have said. And did you see anybody discuss it? Look, at least the King County GOP, when I put it in front of them, they go, oh, yeah, we'll add it and we'll add the no recommendation. Good on them. I haven't heard anybody talking about this thing. I am the only one talking about it. King County elections had to come to me and ask me to write the opposition for this thing because there was no opposition to this thing. So the sad fact is that this thing may coast by. Yesterday, we discussed how the Seattle Times and all their endorsements, they endorsed to vote no on this thing. They shockingly agreed with me. But they have sent out no emails about it. And I looked at their page again, Mike, by the way. It is still not on their endorsements. Still not on their official endorsement page, you cowards. Let's check one more time, see if it actually made it. Parks levy. Nope, no democracy vouchers. No democracy vouchers because they're afraid the Democrats will get mad at them for coming out against the democracy vouchers. If you guys want to weigh in on any of these, you disagree with me, like the Seattle mayoral race, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Rachel texted us on the Warrior Injury Law text line. I wonder where the leftover voucher money goes that's not spent, but the taxes were collected. Well, Rachel, that's a great question. And you know what? The Seattle Times asked me the exact same question during the endorsement meeting, and I said, you're the Seattle Times. Why haven't you guys researched this thing? But now we really know why that is. Ugh, crazy. It's so disheartening because this was an easy layup. You've got it on the ballot, and most Republicans weren't even paying attention to it. Look what I've got right here. Do you know how easy this would have been? This is for the democracy vouchers that I got in the mail. Do you know who the poster child for them is? Pramila Jayapal. Everybody hates Pramila Jayapal, and you guys made this your poster child. Are you kidding me? Ugh, I just can't. What is your people powered? Keep Seattle people powered. I'm proud to endorse Proposition 1 to renew this vital program and keep Seattle leading the way in building a more inclusive people. It's not doing that. It's not at all. I'm so frustrated over this. How did I end up running a campaign, which I'm not running, for this thing? Because the GOP is just MIA. Just completely MIA on an issue like this. We're all too busy fighting about who's America first enough for us, rather than actually discussing the issues and actually trying to win elections. It's so frustrating. What do you think the general is going to be like? What, you think they're going to gear up in the next couple months? Give me a break. You're going to have the primary tonight. We're going to know the issues. Oh, by the way, reminder, for those of you who are going to be awake at 2 a.m. tonight, I will be on Fox and Friends discussing the primary results. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow discussing the primary results as well. And we'll do live ballot drops like we've done in years past because they drop at 4 o'clock during the show. So if anything's drastically changing, if anything's close, we're going to bring you all the updates. Speaking of updates, my friends, when we come back, we got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. So, the EPA has made a decision to roll back some Obama-era rules and regulations. And what could that possibly do to shut down the Climate Commitment Act and save you money on your gas? Our next guest will tell us all about it. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show, but first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, last week there was a huge development. We know that the Climate Commitment Act here in Washington has been the bane of so many of our existences, but also our wallets and what's doing to gas prices and such. However, last week, we know that Lee Zeldin is going to work to repeal the holy grail of the Obama-era emissions finding that hiked energy costs for years. What exactly is this going to do across the country? Can this actually help us here in Washington? Joining us now, the former chief of staff over at the Environmental Protection Agency, Mandy Gunasekera. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, great to be back with you, Ari.
Such a pleasure. So why don't you explain what this thing is exactly and what is happening to it?
Yeah, so it's called the endangerment finding, and for EPA to initiate regulations for anything deemed a quote-unquote pollutant, I'm going to use a lot of air quotes, you can't see, but it's important, they have to find that a particular substance endangers public health and welfare, and then they have to pinpoint the sources of those pollutants, whatever puts it out into the atmosphere, and then come up with ways to regulate it. And so the endangerment finding, an easy way to think about it, it is the legal activating document to future regulations. And what the Obama administration did in 2009, you've already heard a lot of people talk about how this is an attack on science and that the endangerment finding was a comprehensive scientific review. That is not true. It was the result of a manipulated political process so the Obama administration could achieve their goal of controlling the entirety of the economy. And if you can justify controlling carbon dioxide in particular, but they did it in this instance, carbon dioxide plus 5 other greenhouse gases all mixed together, then they would have almost carte blanche authority, or so they thought, carte blanche authority to regulate everything from what we eat to what we drive, to what types of businesses can exist or not. And that impacts everything from, electric vehicles being pushed on consumers to whether or not the energy grid that you operate within, if the lights turn on when you need them, and what your costs are. So it really is massive. What the administrator honed in on was its particular relevance to vehicles. He's getting rid of the endangerment finding, as he should, because EPA decisions should be based on the latest and greatest scientific analysis and technical understanding, which the endangerment finding from 2009 never actually reflected. And then 2, he is applying that to what became the electric vehicle mandate, where we, the consumers, were forced to embrace EVs, whether it made sense financially or whether it made sense from the goal of personal transportation, which is to get from point A to point B in a safe, efficient manner.
Now, over here on our show, we have sponsors that give me EVs to drive, like our friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. And I have said, if you want to drop the money on that kind of stuff, it's great and you'll like it, but you shouldn't be forced to drop the money on that kind of stuff, and our tax dollars should not be subsidizing these charging stations. We didn't subsidize gas stations all the time, and we shouldn't be subsidizing these really big vehicles for people to buy who already have the money, because we saw what happened was they came out with these huge credits for people to go buy these electric vehicles, and all the car manufacturers just jacked up the prices on the vehicles to match that, saying now we can get a few more bucks on it. Now, if you want to go buy one of those things, that's wonderful and fantastic, and in fact, we have encouraged you to do so, but you shouldn't be forced to do this. And also, they're trying to jump the gun on the production of a lot of these things where the technology isn't there yet. We're talking with Mandy Gunasekera, who's the former chief of staff over at the EPA. And something that's fascinating to me is, was this the kind of thing that was used to create this whole, well, if we tax people enough and we sell them enough credits and we have energy offsets, like we saw over at the Climate Pledge Arena here in Seattle, where they claim the thing is so green, but really they're buying these fake carbon credits in order to offset this thing. Was this the basis for that as well?
Yeah, it was. And this is a way, really what it does is it enriches the bureaucracy in both monetary resource terms, but also in relevance. And this is the problem. As the federal government gets more involved in these sorts of decisions, which, as you aptly point out, the consumer should decide. A consumer can go in and make a judgment as to whether or not an electric vehicle or a gas-powered vehicle works better for them. And there's cost considerations. And then on the charging side, I mean, what an absolute debacle. The last administration, they had set aside billions of dollars. And I think at the end of the day, they had built maybe 6 charging stations. So there's areas of the country that have major gaps in the infrastructure needed to reliably depend on electric vehicle transportation. So going back to the original question, though, yeah, the endangerment finding, it was the activating document for so many different regulations that add regulatory costs, which is a hidden tax on the consumer, but also liability to the manufacturers. And that is why manufacturers have been forced to build cars consumers largely don't want, which trickles all the way down to the auto dealers, where on average, an electric vehicle will sit on the lot for 30% longer time before they can find a willing consumer to actually buy it. And that has huge ramifications across the entire economy. And we're just talking about vehicles here. I mean, they did this for the electric grid. They did this for oil and gas extraction. All of this is part of a bigger picture to try and suppress development, coal, oil, natural gas, traditional energy resources that still provide 80% of the energy we use, but also things like what sorts of stoves you can have in your house, whether or not the appliances that you purchase are actually going to work on one cycle, or if you have to run it multiple cycles, such as your dishwasher, for it to actually work. It's all tied together and really harkens back to the 2009 endangerment finding that Administrator Zeldin and his team are rightfully proposing to get rid of.
In the last few minutes we have with Mandy Gunasekera, who is the former chief of staff over at the EPA. So I've been telling conservatives for a long time, we're the ones who hunt, we're the ones who fish, we're the ones who go camping, we're the ones who like being outdoors, we're the ones who like the environment. And meanwhile, the other side, they like a different kind of camping. They like the urban camping, which doesn't really help the environment. They like that kind of stuff. If you could enact a simple thing or two simple things, if you were in control of the government and you were in control of the EPA and you were in control of all this stuff, or you were giving recommendations, what's something you could say, this is practical, this is simple, this is something we could be doing right now, and it doesn't require your tax money to do it?
Yeah, I think it's embracing advanced technologies that actually make our day-to-day modern lives much cleaner and have a less impact on the surrounding ecosystems. Let's talk about cars. I mean, some of the most innovative pollution control technologies have been designed for traditional gas-powered vehicles, but you won't hear about it because it's been overshadowed or swept under the rug by virtue of this multi-year push for consumers to only embrace electric vehicles. You know, you could say the same thing for a lot of the power plants, whether it's natural gas, the extraction technologies, as well as the refinement and use technologies. There's some of the most advanced technology on the marketplace exists right now. And actually, EPA, they get in the way often through their permitting. This is permitting reform. So I'm breaking your rule a little bit. There's some taxpayer resources needed to effectuate permitting reform. But if that's done, what the folks who are operating, who are major industrial operators, can do, they can integrate the latest and greatest technologies without the fear that that's going to create added regulatory costs or liability or forever lawsuits by some of these third-party groups that really just want to suppress development in the name of environmental protection, which when it actually undermines the maintenance of industrial operations, be it power development or steel manufacturers, for example, maintaining those working without suppressing or adding unnecessary cost and limiting their overall environmental impact. So
Yep.
those are some things that really is just, it's embracing technology, having the federal government get out of the way. And the good news is this administration is embracing that mentality in really big ways.
I completely agree. And if you look at how many people are buying the hybrids before we got pushed to the electric cars, one of the cars our friends over at Renton, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram gave me right now is a hybrid. And I love this thing. And it's amazing. And the truck that I used to have was a hybrid. But also what we've been doing in oil refinement and bringing that stuff out of the ground, we do it so much cleaner here. And the Biden administration, which claimed to be all pro the environment, was saying, oh, go dig it in other parts of the world where it's less clean of a process. Mandy Gunasekera, thank you so much for joining us today and your insight. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, you have just over 2 hours to get your ballots into the drop boxes for the primaries. They close at 8 o'clock tonight. Do not go to the mailbox because they won't be postmarked in time because the post offices are going to be closing soon. So go to the drop boxes instead, which you can drop off to until 8 o'clock tonight. Also, don't forget at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, plus so much more. Yeah, another reason to always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, I was right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. This just got sent to me by one of our listeners, and it is one of the funniest things I have ever read. I am reading this from the Seattle Police Blotter. This is not me making any jokes. I'm going to read it straight because somebody over there had way too much fun with this. Here we go. Headline from the Seattle Police Blotter. Police arrest armed man for threats to kill following copulation? How do we pronounce that? Copulation? With Trader Joe's refrigerator. Yes, I kid you not. The little kid in the back of the car is going, Mommy, what does that mean? This thing's clean enough. Here are the cold, hard facts. On a warm August day, Seattle police officers arrested a 33-year-old man for making threats to kill with a knife following copulation with a refrigerator inside of a Trader Joe's grocery store on August 5th. At around 2:15 p.m., patrol officers responded to the 1700 block of 16th Avenue East following a report of a man using racial slurs and brandishing a knife at security. Shortly after, he also threatened to kill everyone in the store. According to the security guard, he confronted the man for allegedly, and this is their word, not mine, using the quotes, humping a refrigerator and attempting to do the same to a customer. When challenged, the suspect became upset and kicked a flower display. He also threw apples. Multiple officers responded and arrested the suspect for felony harassment. Police booked the suspect, a registered sex offender, into the King County Jail. The suspect's life might get a lot harder if he is not allowed to come within 500 feet of a fridge. Sorry. Detectives with the homicide and assault unit will be assigned to the case. Okay, this is too ridiculous. All right, here, I got a question for the audience. Do you guys think the humor is appropriate in this case or not appropriate in this case? It seems like they're getting some inspiration from WashDOT with their ridiculous posts. Do you think it's... I remember when the Seattle Police Blotter used to be funny all the time. It's been a long, long time since they've been this funny. But how can you not with a case like this? Tell me if you think the humor is appropriate. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Yeah, that's...
Well, since you've taken a break in the story action, this one goes out to John in Auburn.
Oh, dude.
He knows why.
I saw
Thanks
that
for
on
being
the
a member
text
of the
line.
Big Mike Militia.
I saw that one.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Oh, got this one from John in Lakewood. The Climate Commitment Act is the most destructive law ever. Violate it. Build smoky recreational fires often and stop paying your car tax. He also adds, Ari, I don't know how you do all this heavy lifting, but I appreciate it. Yes, okay. Now, mind you, a lot of people are talking about how they actually did vote for Claudia Balducci, even though I said not to vote for either her nor Gourmet, because they're more concerned about Gourmet. Guys, Claudia Balducci, no different. I'm telling you that. No different whatsoever. I'm telling you, there is really no difference between these two candidates. They're just terrible. They're just not good. Not at all. So anyway, switching gears over to the crime here in Seattle. So I don't know if you guys noticed this. We had all these shootings over the weekend, and I was looking for a statement from Bob Ferguson. Something, anything, some kind of statement. You have multiple shootings here in the area. And Bob Ferguson was MIA. We know the Washington State Standard is going, where's Bob? Where's Bob? Where's Bob? And Bob Ferguson, instead of posting about the shootings, posts this. He posts a study from 2024. It's an article that King 5 did talking about crime rates dropping. Wow. Talk about being tone deaf. So You have multiple shootings, multiple fatal shootings, including a guy who was shot in front of his wife and kid walking into church, and a shooting at the brand new waterfront. And you say crime rates are dropping? Number one, you don't get to take credit for this, even if it's true or false, whatever the case may be, because from 2024 and you weren't governor yet. Plus, he writes this. This is encouraging news. I appreciate our law enforcement professionals working hard to keep our community safe. How many of them did you fire with the COVID vax stuff? He says we must keep this momentum. That's why $100 million we secured this year for police hiring is so important. That's not what you did. That is a bull-faced lie. You guys raised taxes and then said the money can be used for anything. You're not giving any money to law enforcement whatsoever. You treat them with disdain. You were MIA during the BLM riots. We know how you really feel. And once again, when you have all these shootings, hang on, he's got a couple new posts here. Does he address the shootings? No. Oh, wait. I'm grateful for the firefighters who are risking their safety, working hard to keep Washingtonians safe. Oh, spare me. You fired them too. Stop trying to make it look... every Washingtonian deserves an affordable place to live? What? You just jacked property. You just jacked taxes. The highest tax, most tax increase in Washington state history. And you're saying every Washingtonian deserves an affordable place to live? Spare me your nonsense. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win a $50 Daniels Broiler gift card, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway or our good news headlines, some of you really enjoyed the fridge story too much. Mike Kerb says over here, does the fridge get to press charges? You guys are funny. You guys are very, very funny. All right, local good news, not what's happening with refrigerators. So this one here. This one comes from Cairo 7. At 7 years old, Seattle's Alex Butler created the card game Taco versus Burrito. Now the 15-year-old millionaire is about to start 10th grade in Ballard and has sold the hit card game in a cash deal. The game, where players compete to build the most valuable meal, launched on Amazon in 2018 for $20. The game made nearly $1.1 million in its first year, selling 1.5 million copies, and became America's top-selling game. Alex came up with the idea during family game nights, even though he didn't like tacos or burritos at the time. Well, he's going to have tacos and burritos for a life. Every day is going to be taco time for this kid now. His mom, Leslie Pearson, helped bring the idea to life, launching a fundraiser that quickly raised $25,000 and led to the creation of Hot Taco Inc. After turning down earlier offers, they sold it to Play Monster. The sale amount hasn't been disclosed, but Alex, still part of the planning, says he hopes to buy a Lambo. Okay, Mom, Dad, that's a big no-no. Do not let that kid do that. Save the money for houses. Let him have something nice, but a Lambo? No.
Yeah, talk about the no-no square. My goodness. Jeepers. Or buy him like a Hot Wheels Lambo.
There you go.
Or like something just called Lambo. I thought you meant Lamborghini. No, you said you specifically wanted a Lambo.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
That kind of thing. I ran into a little bit of confusion, Ari, when I pitched this story to you. When it says sold to Toy Giant, I thought it was a toy of a giant, like, like the Green Giant type of thing.
Yes.
Or like the fee-fi-fo-fum kind of thing. Or maybe a giant toy, perhaps.
Giant Optimus Prime.
Yeah,
perhaps.
it is kind of what I was thinking.
Yes.
But,
yes. But
anyway.
No.
It's a very dumb joke, but that's all right. I just wanted to say Toy Giant.
Yes, no, I'm with you. I will say is that parents, if you give the kid the Lambo, you are ruining this kid for life. You are. You get him a beat-up car that he can learn the value of what happens when you have a beat-up car that you learn as a teenage driver. Save the money for later in life when he wants to buy a house, when he wants to have a wedding, when he wants to go to Actually, don't go to college. This kid is good with it like creativity. Don't send him to college. That'll ruin it. While proud of the game's success, he doesn't see a future in game design. His passions now consist of music, sports, and video games. Well, he can do that for the rest of his life because he's got the taco and burrito money. That's right. So, yeah, do not buy the kid the Lambo. I don't know. Get him like an old beat-up Camaro or something. That's what I learned to drive on. Let's go with that. Yes, the old beat-up Camaro. That's the way to go. That's what I recommend. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980 and features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Lesha in South Lake Union, with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, and a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement as well. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life. For 30-plus years, from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots so that future financial storms don't blow your life savings away. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement, and a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. 5757. Well, that's going to do it for us today, my friends. But fear not. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.